My name is Brandon Michelle. I'm a first year student at the University of St. Augustine. And in this video, I'm basically just going to talk about my understanding of self leadership, my journey throughout this term, and how I continue to grow as a PT student and as a future PT when I get there down the line. So for me, self leadership is basically the ability to intentionally guide my own thoughts, my emotions, my actions, and things of that nature. It's not just about discipline, it's about like staying self-aware, staying accountable, and making choices that align with me as a person and how I want to be as a future PT. So three big components that I learned so far throughout this term. One, my self-awareness. I had to understand my strengths, my weaknesses, the habits that I have, and my motivations. This term, I realized that awareness, it isn't something that it's something that I struggle with a little bit, but not only the awareness, but it's admitting that I struggle with this. Also, my self management, I didn't realize, it's a big adjustment from undergrad to grad school, managing your time. I feel like in undergrad, you had all the time in the world, and then once you get to grad school, you really have to, like, every hour, every minute counts. So you really have to like organize your life, setting realistic goals. That's another thing, and adjusting when other things aren't working. I know for me personally, in the beginning, I didn't know what to do at first, and then it took an adjustment, and that adjustment comes with failure at times. But once you get in a groove, it's smooth sailing. At least for me, it was. And then self motivation. Times things can get overwhelming, so you have to be able to like find the reason why you're in PT school. I know for me personally, I want to be in pediatrics. I also want to work in sports, geriatrics. So you just have to find that purpose of studying, why you do this, and being able to push through the weeks. Overall, I feel like my self leadership has grown a lot since the beginning of the term, and it reflects that in the way that I am from back then to now. I know coming into grad school, I expected to work hard, but I didn't fully understand like the amount of hard work it would actually take to get here. Um, like I was saying earlier in the term, the big thing that I would struggle with was procrastination because you could get away with that in undergrad, like I said. And, it was just a big struggle for me, but I feel like I'm past that now. Also, inconsistent sleep and stress piling up, that was a big thing for me as well. I had to like, instead of ignoring those habits, I had to actually pay attention to what triggered them and, just make changes to better me as a student. Like I said, I strengthened my self-management. I changed, like in the beginning of the term, my study habit and plan is totally different than what it is now. Um, you know what I'm saying? I focused on like, instead of just like memorizing stuff or rereading notes, I actually had to actively learn stuff, you know what I'm saying? And then asking for help, because me personally, that was a big struggle for me. I'm not really, at least before, I wasn't really big on asking for help on certain things. And I feel like now I'm very comfortable with, hey, if I don't understand something, hey, I can go to the professor and the professor will explain it to me. So that's another area I really growed in. And the last thing is my professional behaviors. I became more mindful of how I communicate when I'm like studying with my boys, my classmates, how I present myself in the class, and how I manage my time. Like I said, I also grew in my ability to take feedback. I wasn't great with that before, but I feel like now I see I see it as a tool for growth rather than criticism, if you get what I'm saying. And I feel like I've grown a lot, and I also want to continue to grow. I know self leadership is something that I'll be continuing to do throughout my DBT journey. I want to stay consistent with my study routines. I don't want to fall back to what I was doing in the beginning of the term. I plan to dig deeper into feedback and more often, especially when I'm doing labs and things of that nature. And as for the future, I want to work on becoming more confident in speaking, asking questions, and taking initiative, because that's what I'm going to have to do when I work with patients. I want to improve my clinical reasoning skills, reflecting every day on what I did well and all the things that I could do better. And I just want to continue developing habits of professionalism, showing up early, being fully prepared, communicating clearly with my CI and my patients and things of that nature. I just want to embody the the type of clinician that is dependable, empathetic, and always learning. You know what I'm saying? I plan to keep pushing myself outside of my comfort zone, which is something that I've gotten used to. I've gotten used to a lot since starting DPT school, whether that's through continuing education, membership, or working in settings that I'm not used to working in. So I also want to continue to develop my leadership skills. I feel like I've always been a good leader, but I've had to be a different type of leader. Like being a leader in sports is totally different than being a leader in PT school. So I just want to continue to improve that and allow me to impact my patients in a positive way. Overall, though, this term, it taught me a lot about myself. It taught me that self-leadership, it isn't a one-time achievement. It's continuous. It's a process, you know. I've learned a lot about myself, and I'm continuing to grow even when things get uncomfortable. I'm proud of the progress I made so far. I still have a long way to go, but I feel like me from the beginning to now, it's a drastic improvement. I've done a lot, and I'm committed to developing as a student, as a future clinician, and as a future DPT. And my goal is just to be the best DPT that I can be. So, yeah, thank you for listening.